gotta hit play over here on this.
Is the playback speed?
Is it playing right?
It's playing fast. Or maybe
your playback speed is set off.
it may be.
Some folks have a story to tell.
On fast today.
Have the time, just sit and spill. I got
This is the one that they just recorded.
that'll really blow your mind.
This one's the version that they sent.
On a warm September day, in a town that's not too far away. Town that I've gone home for most of my life. Heard it on the evening news. Some call it a sin, some call him lose. I pray you're not the one that has to choose. Shots of fire, this old house walls.
Carlos Cotto was kind enough
Never done before. He come out. He was holding his head high. There's a time to live and a time to die, and in between we all ask why this whole world has to be so damn cruel. Maybe you can't understand what it takes to be a damn good man. You live by the laws of a very evil man. I'm not one to spread the lie. I can't help wonder why someone else didn't step up when they should. They all knew what he had done. Why did it take so damn long? So many hide the face in total shame. There's a time to live and a time to die, and in between we all ask why this whole world has to be so damn. Maybe you can't understand what it takes to be a damn good man. We live by the laws of very evil. There's a man somewhere in a prison cell. He's going to heaven, been through hell. Either way, they took that batch off of his shirt. Just remember on your judgment day, when they ask you how, what will you say? You have what it takes to put evil men in dirt. There's a time to live and a time to die, and in between we all ask why.
Didn't mess up.
I think so. Okay. Let's see if I can get it to stop. We'll go ahead and call it there. And I'm going to try to work on my editing skills tomorrow or later this evening. And fix it where it'll automatically do it. Like I need to get it downloaded to the computer so I can upload it to the website.
Right, and thanks so much for that song. I mean, it's really good.
That is amazing. Hopefully we'll get to meet him one day too.
Yeah. Okay.
So welcome. And for everybody that's on TikTok, we are live on YouTube, and I've got Brandy. Brandy's going to start sharing part of her story. It's a lot, and it's heavy, and it's hard to hear, so trigger warning. But
we'll start baby step. We'll start with the little stuff.
Well, most of our content contains a lot of triggers anyway, I've noticed.
It really does. But, you know, the thing of it is, that's
a disclaimer on it because it's definitely not made for kids. But
No, not at all. So, no, I thought it might be a good idea. I know, like, when I talk about Sarah and the kids, and you all are kind of just getting bits and pieces, and it's hard to piece together the story that
The whole
that
story.
that we're trying to get people to understand. And I figured it would be a good way would be to start with just what, you know, kind of not at the beginning, because boy, there's some stuff there too. Everybody said I should write a book. They've always told me that, but
I agree.
but
We both need to get that in quickly.
yeah, that's one of the things. But I thought it might help explain some of the decisions that Sarah's made, some of the things, and hopefully I can get through it without blubbering, because Ty knows how I get when it comes to my kids and my babies. So
And if you don't want to, we can take time to cry. Let nature do its thing.
do its thing.
Yeah.
But back probably, well, my first experience with any kind of opiate or opioid or anything like that, I had back surgery in my early 20s. And back then, you know, they were writing big stuff for small things, or you know, and I had a lot of serious stuff going on. I was having spinal surgeries. I had, you know, they hadn't found MS yet, so it was kind of back in the kind of, you know, giving me trouble, but they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I was prescribed painkillers and stuff. So I was, you know, I thought responsible, but you know how it gets. And we had something very traumatic happen to our family in 2010, and it devastated me. I lost the love of my life, and I've not dated him, not, you know, he was it. That he was my soulmate, and I lost him, and my world went, you know, crashing. And that's when, you know, a prescription become a problem. It become a big problem. And so that went on for years, you know, just, I guess, me hanging by a thread thinking, you know, everything's okay or whatever, until, you know, I lost custody of Sarah when she was 17. And it woke me up quick. I think Ty was who I leaned on when it happened. I know she remembers. I got the letters, and I couldn't imagine, you know, losing my child, you know. And at that time, I wasn't even ready to take accountability for the stuff I had done and put the kids through. And, you know, at that time, I think I was still in that, that part of not me, you know. I'm not that bad, you know. You know, you tell yourself, I'm not that bad, you know. And so that hit, and it hurt. It hurt bad, and I can only imagine what Sarah felt. I mean, I do know, because I mean, we've since talked it through, you know. But she felt like I picked drugs over her, and I did. You know, I did. And you know, that's something, you know, that she's had to deal with, you know. So so I kind of, you know, I understand. So when the like I said, that's what hit me. I ended up in a campground in Winchester for 3 months, and I twisted and I turned, and I you know, I withdrawed off everything.
You went cold turkey, didn't you?
I went cold turkey. Cold turkey. About killed me.
Everything.
Yeah, Suboxone, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it about killed me. I mean, there was times I really didn't think I was going to get through it.
Especially being
And
like in a campground like that, you know, like you think like when you're withdrawing and going cold turkey, like a shower and a soft bed is a luxury. You know, like
and
that's what you miss in jail is the luxury part of doing it at home in a comfortable environment. So I can only imagine what that was like going through
it
that.
was, like during the day, the temperatures would go up, and it would be 100 degrees, and you're going through them sweats and just sick and just horrible, and I would feel better one day, and then 2 days later I'd be stacked out again, just sick as a dog. Don't and I have MS. By that time I had found out I have MS, and so my health, yeah, it was, but when I went, I didn't tell anybody where I was going. I didn't take a phone because I knew if I had a phone, a car, anyway, if I got sick enough, I would break,
Yeah.
and I would call, and, and so I thought, nope, this is it. And
So what
so I
you
kind
bring supplies and stuff to you ever so often and check on you, didn't you? Like for your
yeah,
safety and stuff
yes,
to make
oh
sure
yes.
that you weren't.
Yeah, he saved my life. He really did. He's always been a good friend, and so I got back on my feet. I got me an apartment, my own apartment. I saved up the whole time I was, there, and I got me an apartment. Got Sarah back. You know, doing great, and found out I was going to be a mamaw.
And this was with Tony.
Yep, yep, and no, there wasn't anything in the world worth at that moment, relapse or, that wasn't even
Wasn't
a
even a question
thought.
at that point.
Wasn't even thought.
Yeah.
I was just so excited, and so when Tony was born, um, Sarah and his daddy was struggling and just having a they just got together, and they hadn't been together no time. And Sarah found out she was pregnant, so it was kind of, oh boy, one of them situations. So that they hadn't even really got to even know each other, let alone to be parents together.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of fighting and arguing and stuff going on, and we had all tried to help, keep the baby on the weekends, and give them their time together and whatever. And I was not suspicious at all of any kind of anything going on. So let's see, it's hard to explain how it even happened. We get down the road a little bit, the baby's up a little bit older. And Sarah decides she's going to leave. She wants to come home, bring the baby home. I'm like, oh, as a mom, you know me, I'm like, come on home. So
Yeah.
next thing you know, I get a call. They're arguing, and it's got violent, and whatever. And so I went to go pick her up and take her out of the situation. Just get, because you could separate them for a couple hours, and next thing you know, they were right back together. So so I went. I thought to go, pick them up, but I get there, and I we get, next thing you know, Jim Stevens shows up, and we were, asked if they could search the car, and yeah, sure, there's no reason not to, and I ended up going to jail. So
Because it's something they found in the car.
actually what had happened is a couple months earlier, Caleb had got picked up and had went to jail. And at that time, when we went to pick his stuff up, his medication was with his stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And it was his medication in my purse, you know. So I didn't think I didn't think there was anything wrong with it.
You realized that you had something illegal.
Right.
Because it wasn't something illegal, it was that it had his name on it and
Right.
not yours.
And
which is your son, by
right.
the way. And let me just point out that if your child's medicine in your purse, it's a pretty normal occurrence, period. Regardless of what the fucking medicine is.
So
if it was antibiotic with his name on it, there wouldn't be a problem.
Okay. And so at that time, we were in my daughter-in-law's mother's vehicle, and she has MS also, but she has a different kind than me, and hers is more progressive, and she has to take injections. He gets I can't even think of the medication, but it's a preloaded shot that you can't tamper with. It's preloaded, you know. And it had literally dry rotted and drained out. It had been in the glove box for so long. And said that was paraphernalia. So, okay, you know. So, my first time ever getting in trouble, this was it. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. So, now this is where I have to say, Kevin did something nice for me. You know, I'll call it where it is. So I was
do nice things for people.
Right. So during this time, though, before I get to him, Sarah was told, she was told, your mother has chose drugs over you again. You're not going to be able to count on her. And you all need help. So do you mind? Or do it would be in your best interest because social services is going to get involved and take the baby. If you don't stay away from your mom and things like that. But they played on that, that trauma that she had of me, doing that. Yeah. So, I have to say, once I got to court and because all the way to court, I had asked for the evidence. I want to see the evidence. I want to see what you got, so I could prove my case in some way,
So you can fund it for your
Well, there wasn't no evidence. Didn't exist.
Of course
there wasn't any. They tried to get the body cam footage because I was telling them the only reason I'm here, it's a domestic violence situation. I'm trying to get my daughter out of it. And I wanted that for evidence. And, they didn't have that.
So once again, you all called for help and then ended up being the ones that was attacked by the system that you called for help.
Right. So now you see why it's so screwed up right now.
Everybody seeing a pattern.
Right. So I went to jail for my first time. Got out that morning. I remember even they were joking with me. I said, I will never be back here again. Don't worry about it. And he's like, they all say that. And I'm like, dude, you don't know me. I will never be back again. And if I don't have to, I'll never leave the house if it comes down to it. So, but anyway, we got into court. Kevin looked at everything and he said, you shouldn't even have been arrested that day. And he threw everything out. And I'm like, great. Do I need to come back? No, go home, be good, stay out of trouble. Okay, thank you. So that was 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Well, once something's dismissed after 30 days, it's supposed to be dropped off your record. You know, so I didn't know I had to go back and do anything or whatever. So I go here recently to apply to get an apartment, you know, and it comes back, I have something on my background. And I'm like, no, I don't, you know. And come to find out, yeah, I did. They never removed it off my record. I went up there and asked them about it, and she was like, "Oh, it won't be on your record at all. It's been too long." So, so all this time, even when the flood, I lost everything in the flood. Applied for apartments, it would come back denied, and I think, why? This is why. Right here, it had
It's
it
on
had
there.
never been taken off. So anytime it was looked at, it looked like there was an open drug case on me that had never been took care of when it was dismissed. So I made them give me this piece of paper so that I can say, hey, look, you know.
This is going to show up on my record, and this is what it is.
Right.
Prove what.
But, you know, I think of all the things that I applied for, you know, different things with school and all kinds of things. And it was like, there's something on your background. And I would think, no, there's not, you know. So it just, I don't know. It's been a situation, this whole thing, that there's been a lot of, I think, character assassination, or however you want to call it, or what you want, you know, whatever you want to say.
That's a good word for it. Yeah. Smear campaigns, character assassination, trying to make you look like you are incompetent or unfit or unwell or like you're crazy or just like, I don't know. So
see, I wouldn't even have known to think about this, but right before that, we got pulled over leaving court after me watching, what, 4 of them out there smoking cigarettes. And like, I even told everybody it tripped me out. Something was wrong. We pull into Texaco. We get whooped right at the Texaco. And this past April, like just this past April. And they asked for everybody in the car's ID, which we all gave them gladly. You know, we knew we hadn't.
And why was this? Because, and let's point that out, that's not even a freaking law. You don't have to give them identification just because they approach you and ask for it. And I don't know if people are aware of this or not, but that, like, whenever you give a fake name or something to a cop, they can charge you for it. That's not legal either.
Yeah. Well, see,
you don't have to tell them who you really are.
Got me was when they pulled in the aggressiveness. You know,
they have no right to
you for the reason they pulled us over was because there was a plate, my license plate it comes with like a little cover that goes over it. It's lit up, but it's like kind of tinted a little bit, but it come factory like that. It's not something I you know, changed on it. So that's the reason they said they pulled us over, but they pulled us over the first month, April 1st, at the gas station, asked for everybody's IDs. Well, we're sitting in the car and I'm like, this is a traffic stop. Why are we, you know, I had insurance, you know, all that. So I'm like, what's going on? Another cop pulls in and I'm like, really, what's going on? So they come back to the car joking that they thought I had a warrant, but it was somebody else with a different birthday than mine. And I'm like, no. I said, you had my license. When you scan my license, it comes up my information, not somebody else's. Yep. It comes back with mine. So why would you even think I had a warrant on me? It made no sense.
Right. Like, what are you just running random names and
Right.
stuff, like hoping that one
You
hits.
hit, so I told Sarah that day, I said, something's not right about that. Something is.
Like whenever they arrested Liz, she was saying that thing that Kenny Anderson had brought up, that one charge, they had falsely arrested her under her own name, but it was not her. It was a different Elizabeth
Yeah.
Jones. And she still had that thing. She had to get it expunged off of her record, and it was not even her that they were looking for.
I think it's anything they can find. And I think what happened was somebody looked and seen that I had an open case and thought, well, there might be a warrant there, kind of one of them things. So I just, it's been one little thing after another, and so it's been, kind of head scratching. So, but when it comes to things like that, I've tried to get along with everybody. I've tried to kind of be the peaceful, the peacemaker with everybody. This person you've seen them. Other family members has talked about this one person like a dog, and I could have been a total, and been like, well, here's what so-and-so said about you, but I never did. I never wanted to hurt a soul, Ty, and I just wanted some time with my grandbabies. I don't understand this whole kind of thing that, it was like, I feel like, I wanted to get this out. And there's other things that I want to tell and get out, and it can explain why I know so much on both sides of the courthouse. Because, I wasn't always, a mom trying to struggle to raise kids. I was married to a successful scene nurse. I had been with him since I was a freshman in high school. We had 3 kids together, and that went plumb sideways. But during that time, I became a foster parent, and I had foster kids, and that I advocated for and fought for, and done everything I could possibly do for them. And it's hard, when you go from that to people looking at you saying, we're taking your kids. You don't do this, we're taking your kids. Oh, we got another call on you. Who? Who?
Well,
why?
What they had said that weren't this.
Yeah, so there was always something.
Yeah, I want you to look at too at all the reports we've been having of how all these children are being abused on camera.
Yeah.
And their families work at the jail or at the courthouse, or they've got connections with this one or that one, and yet CPS never shows up for those kids. The ones who are being harmed by the very people we're talking about in a lot of these cases.
Right. And
like it's they've got it completely backwards in a lot of
places. I just think that a lot of this, and this is what me and Ty talked about today. I think like a lot with the article with Sarah, they left out all his information, but I could get it like that. So they didn't try too hard.
Yeah, you pick it up right there with hers without.
They didn't try too hard.
You don't even need his birthday to
look it up
on their jail
didn't need it.
Yeah.
But
right there beside
they're taking
they're
taking people's mistakes and they're turning them into things that are going to affect them for the rest of their life. You know what I'm saying.
And they if we hadn't have been aware of the article to come back and say no, that is not exactly
what happened.
And this is what happened. And we have proof of
right.
it. Imagine how many people they do that to and make them look like they're just totally just strung out and the worst people or the biggest drug dealers on the planet.
Yeah.
and then force them into their programs where they can sexually assault them and extort them for money for the rest of their
Right.
life under these claims that they're this horrible drug dealer
Right.
addict
You know?
with no proof that
Right.
substantiates it,
And
when all the other proofs
and
stand
they have
otherwise.
literally, that has been the stance. I lost 3 years of my oldest grandson's life. I didn't get to start seeing him until Sarah got pregnant with Scarlett. That's the facts. And I could, no matter how many drug tests I took, no matter what church I went to, no matter what I done, I wasn't good enough to see him. I wasn't good enough. You know, they had to have, I had to have supervision, you know, and I'm like, you know, at that point, I was just so happy to see him. I didn't care if I had to stand on the moon to do it. You know, I didn't care. Whatever. And, you know, so, you know, when Scarlett, you know, come along, you know, we had her, and we shared, we done everything, you know, big family like. You know, Sarah would even bring a boyfriend, and Jim, you know, the daddy would bring a girlfriend sometimes at family gatherings, and everybody just got along. Actually, one of his exes is still a close friend of ours. You know, I mean, when we love you and become family, we do. It's not it's just something we say, you know. And, you know, it's been rough. Are you trying to figure?
Yeah, sorry.
You're fine.
I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm trying to fix it. Well, what happened? Put it back on there the way it goes.
There we go.
That's what I'm trying to do. Sorry,
But like I said, you know, to kind of explain, because I know people might have been like, wait a minute, why don't Sarah have the oldest child? Or wait a minute, why don't this or that? In 2020, Sarah went back and tried to petition to get the older child back. And COVID hit. We couldn't get a court date. I've got that paperwork too to prove all that. But we couldn't get back into court to get anything done. So it just kind of got, Scarlett came along, and the whole thing just, like I said, everybody started getting along, and visits were working smoothly, and they went smooth for 3 years. So, I don't know. I've always felt like, you know,
what was the point when they stopped going smoothly? Was there a turning point where they stopped going smoothly?
Well, yeah.
Was there an incident or something, or was it just like, did it just kind of fizzle out and people getting on each other's
No, everybody was doing just fine. And Sarah and the daddy tried to reconcile, and Sarah was still dating somebody else and stayed with that person. And daddy got mad, got real mad. He sent a message that Saturday night about how mad. And then Sunday, when we were supposed to meet to pick her up, it didn't happen. So, you know, that was May 19th. I dropped her off May 17th for the visit. And May 19th is when we couldn't get her back home. We went from, you know, and, you know, Sarah was like, you know, I should have just went back with him. And I said, no. You know, you two, they were like fire and gas for each other anyway. And I said, no, you shouldn't have. You know, don't go back to more abuse. Or, you know, don't stay, because I did. I went through mortal hell with their father, and I, you know, wanted her to maybe learn from my mistakes. You know, don't do this.
That's what you want for your kids. You want them to learn from yours so that they don't have to make the same ones.
Right. And you know, and I've always said I'm not perfect. I am not perfect. I have made mistakes, but I've always tried to be a good person. I have always tried to be a good person, no matter. Ty, you've seen times I probably should have blown my head off top of my shoulders, but I'm very calm and patient about, you know, and I just, you know, I don't know. It just hurts. It really, you know, um, it really hurts. It does. You know, because you don't really understand, you know, you wasn't, I just don't want my past to come up anymore and bite my kids on the ass like it has, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why this stuff with Sarah, me and you talked about it today. Ty, you have watched that child grow up. And with what I put her through and her brothers put her through, she has such a hatred for certain drugs, certain things. I mean, and that's because of us, you know, and but it's kept her off of those drugs, you know.
Yeah.
And if her, you know, with the weed, if that's the least of my concerns at 27 that I've ever had to worry about with her, I mean, good Lord, you know, compared to what the other two is put me,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
you know. So, but it's also another thing too. It's a sign of how Letcher County works.
Yeah.
If you have a family that say they have friends or they have favors or they know somebody, or you have a family that's like us that as soon as they see our last name they're like, oh God, it's them, you know. So, you know, it matters. It really matters on how they make decisions, and it shouldn't. But articles like how they wrote the article with the paper, you know, let's get both sides.
Yeah.
You know, let's put both sides.
All the perspectives.
Because it looked like Sarah, he was along for the ride. You know, Sarah was the bandit, you know, Bonnie and Clyde there. So,
what you were saying earlier about like how whenever she had called 911 and then it got hung up, and then they called back and said, was that a mistake or do you still need us to come? And she said, no, I need you.
I need you. I need you. I see, I forgot that the other night. What it is, when she called,
when they got there, they had already
go ahead.
Because of this drug problem, in part because of like he had been using and had been up for a few days.
Yep.
And she was like, what is going on? We're not doing this. I'm taking you home.
Yep.
And they got in the fight. She called for help.
It's on her phone. And also
now what you were saying about how she had already put a bunch of his stuff out, but he kept trying to get back in the car.
In the car.
He was trying to get back in the car, and she could not understand.
You know why now?
Why he would not just let her drive off and leave her alone and let her leave.
That's why she fought.
Because his drugs were in the car, and he couldn't just say, because I've got drugs taped up underneath your seat.
Right. Right. Because he snapped. She said when she got away from him, like got him off of her.
And that's on camera.
911.
You could call that dollar store and speak to the management and ask them for that footage.
That's what she told me too. She said, Mom, it was parked right up front. She said, you can see, they had to be able to see him because he was choking her. Yeah. And she said that's when she called 911. He hung it up. They called her back. Yeah. And asked, did you mean to hang up? And she said, no.
And asked for help.
Because every time we have in our lives called them, we got in trouble.
Yeah.
Every time.
No, you're good. And like what happened to me, like I didn't even call the law. They just rolled up on me and took me. And I was completely free and clear. I had just finished probation and pretrial diversion in Letcher County. And Kevin had just released me from it. There was nothing else on my record. There was no
right. Or you thought yours could have been like mine. There could have been something hanging there that.
No, I'm leaving. And I left that night, and 3 hours later, they scooped me up off the street.
Oh, you wasn't here an hour and a half.
No, we wasn't there no time. We just went out to go get cigarettes and stuff.
Yep, and come back to the house.
It was like 10 o'clock at night or something. Yeah.
Yep. And and the sad part of it is we wasn't even 3 miles from a gas
And
station.
it was all we could do to fucking get there too, because we had a blowout. Remember the fucking tire on that truck?
You did, didn't you? I forgot about that.
We had a blowout. Had to get somebody to come. Caleb had to walk to go and see somebody with a tire in it, because I didn't even have a jack. I didn't have nothing but the clothes on my back, trying to get the hell out of there.
Yep. Well, you were in a spot you had to get out. Yeah. You had to, and see, that's like with your babies. That's like with your babies. Do they know that?
Come in,
you know, Ty?
When social services removed them and sent them up there to stay with the man that was raping me,
right?
They made him supervise my fucking visits with my
baby. See, that's the part that
How
exactly. What did they tell your babies? Did they tell them, listen, your mommy was trying, you know, your mommy was in this situation?
They say now, which I didn't tell Brooke that what the real reason was, even whenever I got out of prison, because I didn't want to bring any more harm to her. I still was thinking about it in the way that, well, maybe she doesn't know that about her dad, and he just won't want to cause any more pain to her.
Right.
But that's not causing anything but more pain for everybody.
Right. Because you think about it, you know, what does Sarah's kids know?
Their dad was aware. Their dad was very the fuck aware of what was going on. I had talked to him.
Who knows?
Times and asked him to forbid him from coming back down there to our house.
Yeah.
To do something. I begged. Yeah. And I begged.
No. But it's the women's reputations that in Letcher County that gets just destroyed.
And just give up and walked away just because I didn't want nothing.
With what my husband did, I've got a lifetime restraining order here. I found
because he was dead, and I knew that they were safe in that home with the man out of the picture. That I knew that their grandma and their aunt and everybody were good people, and that they would take care of them. So I bowed out gracefully and let them believe what they believed, and let them tell children what they told them until they stopped letting me talk to them again. And I don't even know why. I don't even know what that was about. I haven't heard from them. They didn't respond. They don't respond to messages or nothing. And whenever I ask Brooke, she just acts like it's just their choice. And she says that they'll talk to me when they're ready or whatever. Fucking shit was fine. What the hell happened?
Right.
And then they won't let them come get their Christmas presents or nothing. So yeah, why am I keeping that secret to save her feelings at this point?
Right.
Because their dad was aware. Her brother was fully the fuck aware. And I know that his wife, their mama, is fully aware that her husband was a perv.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
So, I mean, but you know, you think about that. What is Sarah's kids going to be told?
From me for no reason.
You know, what's Sarah's baby's going to be told?
Right.
You know, I've thought about it, and you know,
they told Leah that I sold her for a bag of meth, for an 8-ball of meth or some shit. And I was like, Leah, I didn't even do meth until the babies was like 3.
I think Sarah got accused of doing something. I think Sarah got accused of doing something to the oldest one. And I don't even know.
That guy that was around whenever I came to Somerset, that was the first time that I'd ever tried it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't know that.
Blame it on meth. Just let him blame it on meth. Well, I told you, remember, he was like, you shoot up Suboxone and you'll shoot up this, but you won't shoot up what I've got. Why? He was like,
right.
I make it. And I was like, it's because of what you put in it. Like, I'm scared of it. And he was like, it's nothing to be scared of. You can trust me. And that was the first time that I ever did methamphetamine.
Yeah.
I'd smoked once or twice before, but I was not. Like, I was on Suboxone. Remember, I still had my prescription. I was still on
Suboxone. You was around me. You know that it wasn't my thing.
No.
I never, ever got into it. It was like,
everything.
It just wasn't something I wanted.
And then it was there. And we were like, fuck it. Like, why the fuck not? They've done everything. So why do we not just
there,
you know?
And you know, and so it's so hard, you know, to people to realize, you know, we were, like I said today, I don't make no excuses, none,
We were
for
open.
nothing I did. I have tried so bad. When I came off of everything, I mean, I seen the world so different. It was so different. It was more clear. Things made sense.
After your detox in the woods.
Yeah, yeah, and because I had that whole time just me.
Yeah.
To deal with my demons and my problems and my hurt and my pain, and I had a peace. I had a peace that was, I wouldn't have gave that up for nothing. It was I don't know. It's hard to describe. And after that, I have done everything I can to make up for the wrongs I have done. If I see somebody that helped me out, I'm like, hey, you help me out, and I'll help them out. It's, you need a ride. Let's do this. And it's like, so then to be characterized as back on drugs after fighting like hell for my sobriety and staying sober, and
it's insulting and it's
hurts.
It
hurts.
It makes you feel like, well, why am I even trying?
Yeah.
Why am I taking this medication and doing these things and going to these meetings and paying them all this money?
Nobody cares.
If nobody cares that you're doing the right thing.
Right. Yeah. But I came to the realization, as long as
continue to keep you on parole for life.
I come to the realization with mine, as long as I was good in God's eyes and I was doing what I felt was right in my heart.
Yeah.
I was doing the best I could at that point. What other people thought, it kind of washed away. And keeping Scarlett was kind of like a redemption for me. It was like, look, I can do this. I have MS. I have all these problems, but look, I can do this, and it was so, I don't know. Things were just so good, and I even agreed, my grandson has been with the other grandmother for so long. That's all he knows.
Yeah.
I have no problem, didn't then and don't now, with how we had things worked out. That was his primary home, and Scarlett's was it with me, and we just traded babies. They was always together, and stuff. And I don't know. I know they deserve to be raised together. And I know there's all kinds of other factors that factor in on this and things like that. But, Sarah, she's made mistakes. She has.
Yeah.
She's made a big one. I'm not going to defend her and say, my baby didn't do nothing. No, my baby knew better.
Yeah.
She knew better.
For the part,
and she knew the minute she knew he was high, she should have said,
"That's it, out."
That's it.
But she had faith in him and thought that she could help him. And
she could fix it. I did that.
You don't want to.
You think you can fix it
because they're struggling with drugs, because she knows that doesn't define who he is. She knows that he's still a good man.
Right.
If that's not part of the picture. And she wasn't ready to give up on that. I mean,
no.
I guess that's where it's.
And two, I told you the circumstances that day of why we even agreed to let her take
to go
the
vehicle. To even be
right.
There. Yeah.
Right.
Y'all
we were
her to go.
Yeah, because we knew something was off. Something just was off, and and after she pointed out to me, should I say what reason or?
Yeah, why not?
Well,
and it's part of what made the decision to put her behind the wheel and take him home to drop him off, and
right,
leave him at his mom.
Right.
Yeah.
she was fed up. She was fed up, but the only ride he had besides her was a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And that weekend, they had asked if they could bring his child here for a visit.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to say no. I love babies. I'm not going to say no. And
Mr. Taylor's house.
so
Everybody's kids.
yeah,
Like everybody likes to be there because it's safe and comfortable, and you can be
yeah.
yourself, and you're accepted and loved.
So she come in to me and explained to me he'd been up for a few days.
Yeah.
And she was afraid that if he got on that motorcycle with the child and got on that interstate to go home,
that there would be a bigger problem.
They would be, yeah, possible.
Who knows?
Something could happen, So her solution at that time was, I'll take her home and tell him, stay home.
Yeah.
When you sober up, have your mom come and get your bike.
Yeah.
We didn't make it that far. We didn't get that far. So, we all kind of have had
and that's exactly what they had done. They took the kid home, and then everything fell apart. And
everything went to pieces.
On camera. It's on camera. We've got to get that camera.
Yeah, because
I don't think that's a
she's slinging. She said and here's the part that lets me know this is my child. This is my child. She said, you'll see me slinging his stuff out of the car.
Right. Yeah.
She said I was slinging everything out of the car. Yeah. So,
stick her with it, but it's not him. Stick her with it is the thing. He told the cops that it was all his. He told them at the jail it was all his. He told Brandy it was all his. He has written messages to Sarah saying it was all his.
Every bit of it. Yeah, because I'm telling you, Sarah wouldn't have called 911.
Yeah.
If she would have thought that'd have been a chance of anything.
She would have been mad as hell, but she wouldn't have called the law.
Yeah.
She would have been like, get this shit and get the fuck on with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And like me and you was talking today, it explains why she was trying to drive away.
Yeah, and
he was literally making a scene.
Trying to make a scene, trying to get her to stop and let him back in that car.
Yeah. And she didn't know why.
Yeah. And
they found why.
And the drugs, which wasn't just slung up under the seat. It was under.
He had like 62 rounds. What do you need that many rounds for? Right. Sarah's wasn't even loaded. There was just such and like her attorney said, it's not making sense to her either why Sarah hasn't been, released. That they lowered the bond.
Yeah, like they could at least lower her bond to something reasonable, or they could have dismissed the other charges and left her with the weed charge that she actually had and said, "This is mine."
This is mine.
To give her the charge of the fentanyl, which is when he was saying, "No, that's not hers. That was mine. That's in my pocket."
Yeah, he was telling me, and he even, if you read all the messages,
all of her charges except for that one.
Yeah, if you read all of the, if you read all the messages, in every single one of them, he says, I'll take the blame for everything but what was yours, and that's the weed.
And the weed and her legal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unloaded that was in the console.
Yeah. So, she's in Knox County.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in, big city. She's scared to death. I know she is. But
to call a few other bondsmen, though. I don't even have that open, guys. Sorry, I'm not even looking at it because I get so distracted with it.
Yeah, I told Ty, I said my story is so. It's got high-speed chases. It's got big issues with CPA. big. But I told Ty I'll keep telling, but this I thought was important to explain why Sarah, with the oldest child, and kind of why things were so choppy, because it's hard. She didn't want to get on here and say, listen, this is what mom was doing at this time, or what I thought mom was doing at this time, so I'm doing that for her, and, admitting, my bads, my wrongs, my, things that, I've always kind of, I've been proud of myself that I did what I did, but, I just never, Ty, I just don't talk about, me. It's kind of like, okay, kind of stay back out of the way. But, it just, I wanted to explain at that moment, she didn't think she could count on me to help her with him at that time, because she was not, even though I was her mother and she loved me, she was not going to put that baby through what she went through. And that's why I understand why she did, signed him to the other grandma and not me. I understand, and I never got mad at anybody. The only thing I got hurt and upset about was losing 3 years of his life that I'll never get back. Missing holidays, and she'd have to go in the bathroom and video call me so I could see him on holidays. So, it's hard. So now to sit here and think, oh crap, here we go again. But now, it's both.
Yeah. Well, this time we have a voice, though. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And, something that I always have to remind myself, like, everything happens for a reason, and everything is in God's timing. And it's like whenever they tell me that we're charging us with kidnapping and unlawful imprisonment, like, we were like, what do you mean?
Right.
What? Like, it was so absurd that it was just like, and that calmness just came over me, and I heard God speak and say, this is for a reason.
Right.
Like, you're going to get through it, and you're going to come out stronger because of it. And going to make a difference because of this. And I heard that in my soul, and I knew that as these things unfolded, and as I was witnessing this stuff happen over the years. Like,
me and you had a conversation about
something was going to happen sometime in the future that was going to make a difference for the people that were still suffering there. And
we did. We had this conversation in 2016 or 15, 2015 or 16. I can't remember. We did. Me and Ty both. I told her, I said,
the fucking shit started falling. The dominoes started falling
for both of us. I was homeless. I think you was at the time. And I told her, I said, there's a reason we're here. There's a reason we've seen all this stuff and that we've lived through all this. And there's a reason. And you even, that's when you told me, you said that you felt we was going to.
I think Sarah knows that too in her soul.
Yeah.
That's why I know she's going to be okay, because she's not just because she's strong and resilient and because, she's seen it from all angles, but because she knows she's a spiritual person too. And she knows that God's not going to put her anywhere that she's not supposed to be.
Yeah, the first week she was like, like a squirrel in traffic.
It's so that we can share it and tell them how they are doing things. And this is why it's a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why,
Yeah. And, she's, just with this happening, she's made strides that I didn't expect. I really didn't. She's calmed down. She, it's not, because the first week she's like a squirrel in traffic. Like, why me? Why, and
my life is falling apart.
And she said, Mama,
I told her she had a tower moment coming, and we kept pulling that card over and over and over. And I did not think it would be this, but
no.
But here we are. Here we are. That's one thing about it. Spirit never lies, whether you want to hear it or not. You got the tower.
Well, like we talked today. like we talked today, there's a reason. I mean, the stuff that we have lived through, I mean, literally lived through. I mean, I almost died, during the flood, and then a year later, my arm exploded.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to be sitting here right now.
That at some point about your arm.
Oh, yeah.
About what happened.
And yeah. Yeah, that's another good lesson, too. Let me tell you. A really good lesson, about drug abuse. It is. And, and it's embarrassing, but it's part of it.
Like if it can bring
it saved my life in a way.
Save somebody else from putting that needle in their arm.
Yeah.
It's nothing to be embarrassed about.
I mean, it's
telling you for a reason.
And that's why I said it the way it happened. I hadn't actually I've used in years. Yeah. But that little hole, that little callus that never would heal is what saved my life. It burst outside, so I knew I was bleeding to death. Mm-hmm. Instead of
a vein rupture in her arm, it just like blew apart and she was bleeding out like
the main artery, in my arm blew out. Like blew out.
On the inside.
An aneurysm.
Emergency surgery.
Oh yeah. At first they were going to cut my arm off, but they didn't think I'd make it to Tennessee. They flew me. I mean, they got me there quick. And they ended up being able to come up here and take out a vein, and because I didn't even have no veins in my body, I had destroyed them, and so they had to come in and they took a vein out right here and rebuilt my arm, took my bat wing where I lost a bunch of weight, and they had to rebuild my arm. I had a skin graft, I had the whole 9 yards.
It doesn't extend all the way now.
No, my shoulder, what it was is they had to leave the tourniquet on for so long. It destroyed my shoulder. Yeah. And I've had a little bit of physical therapy, but I can't, my T-Rex, that's what they all tell me is my little T-Rex, because I can't really do much with it. But I'm just glad I'm here. I'm alive. It didn't take me out. It tried. But like I said, there's another valuable lesson, that there we go. So I figured if everybody else, like I said, I'm a different kind of, Ty and a lot of the other women were sexually assaulted. They were abused, and I was more systematically, everybody, like they just dogpiled us as a family.
And also,
because of Caleb.
A lot of our traumas just by
they used them against us. I mean, they really did to control things.
Whenever we would come to you traumatized, that would have an impact on your own trauma and trigger your own.
Oh yeah, I've cried many nights with you all. I've just been like, blah.
You can be traumatized from things that happen to other people.
Oh yeah.
About parents of SA survivors, especially of when they're children and it happens on your watch. Like that's a lot of guilt and a lot of anger and resentment to yourself.
Yeah. For not noticing or not being there or not catching.
Not being there or there's so many things that you will blame yourself for in that situation.
Once I tell my story, people understand I have all that. We have all that trauma from Letcher County, in one way or another the whole time. And that's why I felt so bonded and close to you guys. When you would come to the house, I'd be like, come on in, and we would have sessions. We'd just cry.
Yeah.
We'd fix something to eat and just sit and cry.
Yeah.
Because, we felt like we were in a position in a place that we couldn't get out of.
Yeah. Completely trapped.
You couldn't.
completely trapped. In every way, we were financially trapped. We were
financially,
statically trapped. We were trapped by the courts. We were trapped by the programs that the courts put us in, who would then
yep,
could also bring more charges against you for failing out of their programs.
yep,
We were trapped by the abuse of men in our lives,
men, oh, and
the domestic violence, the emotional abuse. I
yep.
mean, it just goes on and on and on.
I found, like I said,
I used to
I've
get
been helping with
offended
mom and
whenever
dad
people
stuff.
would put hillbillies in a stereotype, but it doesn't offend me anymore because I truly understand what it means when they say that we are backward here.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Well,
I
we
get
kind of have to be,
we
you know.
are completely backward here, and
Yeah.
like what, and this is why. This is why, like y'all's dirty little secrets, is what these, you know, like that's why we are the way we are.
And that's another thing too. That's why I told Ty I
But
would
the
rather
girls will
step
all
out
fight, fist
now.
fight with each other and then stand up and shake hands because we know that we're not really angry at each other.
See, that's why I
We're
told Ty today I would rather step forward now and
and
tell you guys what we've been through,
yeah,
than to let somebody else take my
and run with
story and tell it how they want to tell it, or how, so I thought, well, okay, now would be a good time, because it kind of explains my child a little better. you know Kind of explains the situation. Like I said, I'm not trying to excuse anything I've ever did. I've made mistakes. I'm going to continue to make mistakes the rest of my life,
Yeah.
but those were valuable lessons that was learned. And I don't, it hurts when it's just assumed that's how you still are. Everybody else is allowed to change and grow and get better, but we're not. We have to always be so and so, or sex worker, or this or that. There's never, that's your past. You can only say you're sorry so many times. It just kind of gets pretty tiring after a while.
So many times.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know. And I think the more of this that comes out and the more people who come forward and talk about it, and I'm so excited for that to happen too. There are other
And there's a lot of people like me
there's people from every walk of life.
Right. That's not been, like I said, abused in the ways that you all have been, but have been in others.
Yeah. People who have worked in the courthouse, people who have worked in the jails. There are people who work at the banks, at the doctor's offices, like
there's all kinds of stories, that's out there. And like I was saying, together, if one at a time, or one here or one there or one whatever, you got people like, no, I don't. But like I said yesterday, when you've got people putting puzzle pieces together, and this is starting to make sense, and now people are seeing it.
1999 makes the rest of this story, like, it corroborates all of it. Does.
Yeah. That this stuff's been going on a long time.
Yeah.
I've, been through it,
in
so
all the ways that they have affected our lives. Like, it's not just with jail or just with, like
social services, harassing people, just anything, just little things here, little things there, that eventually adds up to the point that I got so scared I wouldn't go to the courthouse. I was and I knew I hadn't done anything. I knew I was a legal beagle. I knew I had insurance. I knew, and to go get my car tagged, I would be like, shaking, like, it's horrifying, because you don't know what's next.
Yes. Don't know if
You
you're
don't
going to
know
walk
what's
in
next.
and pop in and say, "Oh, you've got a failure to appear warrant on a civil case from 1992." Like,
Yep.
what? You
Yep.
know?
Or you got a garbage bill. Or
Yeah,
you got,
or a garbage bill. Here, let's haul you in for your garbage bill. Who they're the ones responsible for not collecting the bill for all those years. Like, how can they just do that? I don't understand how.
And then on top of that, you got employees right now.
They're going to make you pay if you have an address. You have to pay that garbage bill, whether you put any garbage out for them to pick up or not.
Yeah,
you'll have to pay the bill. How is that legal?
Tell me how I have one down there that I haven't lived there since 22.
You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
That's got empty houses that they have to pay the damn garbage bill on, or they will go to jail.
Right. You know, how's that okay?
They're charging electric bills on when there's no fucking house on the property because the flood done washed it off twice.
Yeah.
Like, but yet, are they doing this to people?
I know.
And is it just in Appalachia? Is this just a Kentucky thing?
I don't know. But you know, it is. It's hard because
50% more the other day, or they're getting ready to, or something. I think they just raised it, and now they're getting ready to raise it again. How?
I mean, you never know.
They discovered free electricity back in the 20s or something, right? Why are we paying for water? Why are we paying that? They're poisoning at that. They're pumping it full of fluoride.
Oh wait, don't forget, a couple of years ago, we can't even collect rainwater.
What do you mean?
You know, that's against the law. Or supposed to be, I think. Pretty sure.
It probably should be, since they're doing all this weather modification. That should probably be against the law. Because they're spraying shit in our skies that does not belong there. And people is breathing it. You know, sometimes you go outside and wipe. You can see a film on the porch and you'll touch it and it's greasy. The fog is like yellowy, orangey, brown looking, and it's greasy. And it sticks to things.
Yeah.
Look at what that's doing to your body.
Right.
To the land. To the living plants. The animals.
Yeah.
And we're paying them to do this. Why?
I swear I don't know. And you know, that's another thing I was getting ready to say, you know, with like we was talking about how they'll find ways to discredit and do this and do that. You know, the thing about the jail is I've thought about this for 2 or 3 days now. You've got people that are actively working at the jail currently that are making threats on people's Facebooks, threats of doing physical harm,
physical danger on their public social media accounts.
Is that not
a jail? So
is that not a reason?
Well, when you say the jail workers, it just makes us all look bad. No, it don't. It don't make you all look bad.
Right.
Those are the motherfuckers that make y'all look bad.
Right. You know, you've got
make you look bad.
Right. You've got people that, you know, you're public, you know, you are in public.
Yes.
That's, you know, proving what we were saying.
Ain't she the parent of that kid with autism where she was behind the locked door on video and they was beating on the door and she's in there beating on the autistic kid? And
she's the grandmother.
You ain't worth a fuck. You ain't worth a fuck. You ain't nothing. You ain't this. You ain't that.
She's the grandmother.
They called multiple times, over and over and over, called CPS to come and do something and take them kids from her. And now she's online making threats to people who
and her parents are her mother is, you know, and here they are employed
at the jail currently.
I mean, so it's not. You know,
Savannah something. What was it? The one that was threatening Liz. I wish I could pull this up.
Well, the girl, and then the mother did. The mother, I guess, got on there and commented to her daughter of one of those. I got you back, honey. You know, I'll make it hard on them in here and stuff. And it's like, okay,
they're that dumb because I'm not
right. If I was the jailer, I would be crapping myself right now.
Think that they can do that to people, and that you think you can continue to get away with this? You've lost your fucking mind. or you
Yep.
never had it, because I'm coming for you. Like, plain
I
and simple.
mean,
You want to make threats? How about let's threaten you with losing your fucking job?
and see, that's why I
Losing
don't
your
understand.
benefits.
That didn't happen. You know, that should have been an automatic right there. Right
Fire.
there.
Period. Point
Boom.
blank.
You
How
go
is that
in.
not an abuse of power? If you come in here, I'll make your life hell. Beat the hell out of you.
Yep.
Will you? Okay, bitch, I got you.
That's.
By the way, I already reported you to the ACLU. So,
Yeah.
just so that. You've already been reported. As soon as I saw that.
Yeah, because that's, you know, but like we were saying today, they had been proving themselves.
Yeah.
You don't
That's
need
what,
an
like,
investigation.
you just get the laugh when they do dumb shit like that because they're so retarded and
You don't
ignorant.
need investigations.
They put their own foot in
They're
open mouth,
hanging themselves.
open mouth, insert foot. There you
Yeah.
There you have it. If you're looking for them, just look at their Facebook pages and
Yep.
you'll find it. Yeah, go to the jail website and start looking, at the people that work there. You'll find all
And
the comments and stuff. It's out there.
I mean, it's,
They're
but
making the threats and stuff public. They're retaliating in public.
in public. So it's like, you know,
If you think
people.
I'm gonna lay down and let y'all continue, you got another fucking thing coming.
Yeah. So, you know, it
Not
just.
today, sunshine. Not today. This is
Not
God.
today.
Yeah. God sees you.
But I said, you know, it's just more proof of what everybody's been trying to say.
It just proves
People
everything
need.
that
This story's big. It's a mile wide and a mile long, and it's a mile deep. I mean, it's just, and you know, it's a massive failure on so many levels. I mean, you know, we was talking today about how young some of these girls were or are still, that are kind of stuck in the system right now. And holy crap, I didn't know what I was doing when I was that age. I mean, I know I had a couple of kids by that time, but I still didn't know what I was doing. I was clueless, you know. And they're babies, you know. They need help. Help now, not you know, institutionalizing them and, you know, it's jail, you know, get them help. Real help.
Not the answer.
No,
Rehab,
especially not.
Answer. Not whenever they're using sex and they're providing drugs and people are staying inside the rehab than they were on the street.
Yeah.
I had a guy come and knock on my door the other day to tell me about his experience in the ARC rehab program.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that's been through. I mean,
it was he asked to go back to jail.
I think you're trying to freeze up, Ty.
Drinking all the time.
Yeah, it's lagging. I thought it was just me, and I didn't know if it was me or if everybody else was, if it was lagging.